Hi creatives, I'm Rita Barakat, and today we're gonna make this cute little box. Look at this. How fun is this? This is like a cigar box, and we are gonna paint all of the sides looking totally adorable, and the inside as well. So let's check it out. And it looks complicated, but I promise you it is super easy. We can do this together. You ready? Here we go. So for this project, we're gonna need a few items. I grabbed a couple of colors of paint. I've got this one is an ink spot, and this one is simply called purple. I have a brush metal in a silver, so this is like a silver paint. I also grabbed a wicker white. I grabbed glitterific in the hologram, and I'm using a matte Mod Podge. For our tools, we're going to need a few things. I grabbed this set that has the brayer and the little squeegee, which we're going to use, and also a couple of little sponge daubers. And you probably would need some type of a palette knife. I've got some tissue paper and my little die cut and our cigar box. All right, so let's get started. Oh, one more thing I almost forgot. I've also got this handy dandy stencil. This is the Fantasy stencils from FolkArt, and you can punch out, they're already perforated, but I did have to punch out some of the stars. There are bigger stars on here. I don't know if you can tell because it's video, but there are bigger ones. I don't want to use the bigger ones. I knew for this project I'm only going to use these little stars and some circles, so those are the ones that I punched out ahead of time. All right, so I'm going to set that aside, and we're going to get started. And this is really easy. You can do this, and you can do this on whatever surface you're working with. We just happen to be using wood today. I'm not going to seal it first. It is okay. It is ready to go. And we're going to start. This is super complicated, I know. We're going to start just by adding some dots of paint. And the different colors. But not the white. The white I'm saving for later. So I am going to use the silver as well. Alright, so I'm going to take this squeegee, and just because I like to go this way, I'm going to take that right up on the edge to there, and we're just going to move this paint all the way over. If it's like my surface and it doesn't happen to be covering enough, no worries, because we're just going to add some more paint to that. Okay, the trick is we're only going to go one way. So if I had chosen to start this way, that's the only way I would go. I want to go this way. This is the way the wood grain is going. And if that matters to you, then great, do it that way. And if it doesn't, then do it the other way. It really doesn't matter. It just looks better when you're going all the same way. I like it. So we're gonna wait for this to dry. I don't want to mess with this because I really like it and I like the way that it looks. So while we're waiting, we're gonna go ahead and do the back. All right, so once it's dry, we can flip it over. Do the inside. So one of the things that I wanted to include was a little bit of this tissue paper that has music notes on it. I tried to include something that is me in every project that I do. So some music notes, that's just kind of something that I do. This is your choice. You don't have to do this. But it's a fun little way to kind of put your stamp on something, make it yours, make it personal. And I'm going to use a little bit of this matte Mod Podge. And I want to use the matte just because I want any finish that's going to be on here, I want it to strictly be whatever the paint is guiding us. So I'm going to, oh, I guess I need another paintbrush. So let's grab a whiter paintbrush and I'm just going to do all of my edges. And because it is matte, it's really easy to paint right on top. So I'm putting that on there and then I'm gonna flip it over. And I'm gonna use my brayer so that I can get any of those bubbles out, any areas. I want it nice and smooth so it doesn't peel up later. And I'm gonna do the same thing to this piece, and I'm just gonna add this over here on this side. You can see on that page, on that. Oh, actually, I'm going to do it this way. Just no rhyme or reason. Just because I like it better that way. Totally up to you. But again, I'm going to use my brayer. I'm going to iron out any bubbles that may have occurred. And this also helps you to see if there are any edges sticking up. Like right here, I can see, oh, okay, I missed that spot. So let me go back there and get it. We want to make sure all those edges are down, and I can see over here I missed a spot too. And I'm going to make sure that all those edges are down, because the last thing that you want is you create your beautiful project and then it starts peeling up. Okay, so we've got that down, and we're going to do the same thing on the inside. We're going to get our paint. In here, and I still have some on the little squeegee, which we'll end up using. We'll end up using all of it. Apparently I need a new ink spot, huh? I do like that color. I'm going to take the lid off. Sometimes it's just easier. Okay. Alright, and we're going to do the same thing. You know, if you wanted to, you could pick different colors in here, pick all one color in here if you wanted. This side, on the inside, I'm making it super thin. But what's cool is you can see those places where I had put the paint down originally, which is kind of neat looking. However you want to do it. And you may have to go in there in the corners and get those corners with a paintbrush. It just, for me, this goes by a lot faster than if I were to use a paintbrush to paint the entire surface. I'm all about quick projects because sometimes, you know, we don't have a lot of time. We're pretty busy. Okay, and I'm just picking up this paint and again, doing my sides. Just trying to make sure that I've covered all of my edges. Of course, if you wanted to leave it blank, you could. All right, I'm just going to wipe this over here. And I'm going through, I'm going to pick up some of these places here because I don't want to have any drips. I definitely don't want drips. So I'm picking up all these edges, making sure for that blue not being stubborn, it's actually taking over most of our color here. And you can see right over the areas where I have Mod Podge, it's kind of doing this cool resist. And again, I'm bringing it up over my edges. Nice thin layer. And I like this because it just kind of gives it character versus painting something solid. I mean, sometimes we want things solid, but sometimes I just want to have a little bit of fun character. I'm gonna throw a splash of this purple in here. Whoops. Well, when I said splash. And we'll just give that pop right there. And so I have all this paint left over on here. I'm going to use a paintbrush and we're going to get all these little edges. And we're going to use this as our palette. You know, sometimes it is just easier with a paintbrush. It depends what it is. But when you have those little tiny areas, paintbrush really does the trick. The other thing you can check are your corners. Like right here, I see a little bit that's a corner there. I'm going to check my edges. Yep, my corners are good. Looks good. All right. You want to make sure that this is dry before you close it up. And we're going to deal with our cover. I'm going to make sure that it is completely dry. And the first thing we're going to do is just kind of look at it for placement. So I think we're going to put our little gal here, our little fairy. And so I want to have some stars kind of falling down. And so look at your things. And if you don't have a stencil, you can always use a stamp. So I'm going to pull this out. Alright, so we're going to put some white on our palette. And I don't want a whole lot of paint on here because I don't want it to seep underneath. So we want to have nice clean lines, which is why I'm using this. I would rather go over it again because it dries really quick when it's nice and thin like that, and it won't seep underneath. And let's do some more. And because it's nice and thin, I'm not worried about laying it right on top. If we get transfer, we get transfer. We'll just roll with it, right? Right. I like it. Looking good. Looking good. Alright, so now that we have our stars on there, I'm going to give that a chance to, actually I want to add a couple more dots. Just kind of make it look like it's coming down. There we go. And we're going to use the Mod Podge on our little fairy and add her right on top of here like we did before with the tissue paper. I want to make sure I don't have any paint on my paintbrush. You gotta make sure if you're gonna put them right next to each other that you know which one's your Mod Podge and which one's your white paint. So this is a little girl that I drew. And I'm going to make sure I've got all my edges covered. Okay, and I want her little feet to be dangling right about there. And we're going to make sure that she is totally down. And let's use our brayer to kind of go over the top. That way we can see if we've missed any areas. Because any area that's sticking up, you know that you probably don't have Mod Podge under there. And this is a good time too that, you know, if you look at it and you're like, oh, I need to add more stars, you can do that. Totally easy. So again, just making sure I've got all my, it looks like a little bit right here. Right underneath. And you want to make sure that you don't have any, no clumps or anything like that, you know, no extra pieces of Mod Podge. And let that ruin your project layer. And already, the white is already dry. Just by the time that we did that, because we did, remember, a really thin layer. So our last step is I want to add some glitterific, of course. Because we love glitter and we love glitterific. And I'm going to grab, oh, there it is. I was looking for my palette knife. And if you haven't used Glitterific, I mean, it's pretty intense, which I love. So I want to add it on our stars, which is why I'd rather not use a paintbrush in there. It has a lot of glitter, which looks fantastic on your projects. And you know what? I'm going to add some more to her wings over here. And I think I'm even going to add some on the moon. Why not, right? It's all good. And I'm trying to find a clean finger that I don't have paint on, just so I don't get paint transfer. And with the Glitterific, you can always add a couple of layers. So if you get it on and you're just like, oh, I need more, you can add another layer and it looks awesome. Look at that. Oh, it's looking good, you guys. I'm so excited. It looks so cute. All right. And there you go.